Simply knowing that a habit is not the best for you does not automatically make you stop doing it. I know that is not a big shock, but it's something that I have to remind myself sometimes, especially when it comes to spiritual and existential concepts and ideas and all this knowledge I'm putting into my head about the way things are. I should say knowledge in quotes because, of course, all knowledge is pretty much relative. One of the ways that that applies is to expectations. I heard a long time ago, geniusly, unfortunately, from somebody that I cannot remember her name, because this was like 6 years ago in a meditation teaching that I was at. This woman said, expectations are premeditated disappointment. To have any sort of expectation about what is going to happen in the future is nearly always setting oneself up for a level of disappointment. And even to whatever extent expectations do get fulfilled, it's kind of a trick of the mind, where the mind convinces itself that it really knows something that it doesn't actually know. Oh, I had this expectation, and expectation came true. That must mean that my foresight is spot on. Well, no, it wasn't. The fact that what you expected happened, that is just as pure of happenstance as an expectation of something that doesn't come true. Expectations are not only setting one up for a level of dissatisfaction, but they also give a false sense of certainty about something that the mind isn't certain of. Now, I can say this plainly and clearly here. And I have done a lot of work on myself to discover my true self and just sort of the nature of the way things are and how they operate. And still, there is an experience of expectations arising for me all the time. All the time. And it just makes me wonder sometimes, is living life without expectations truly possible? I think probably yes, it is. In the same way that deadlifting over 1,000 pounds is possible because it has been done, but it's reserved for a distinct few people who, I'll just say it doesn't happen by accident that somebody lives life without expectations. It doesn't happen by luck. It happens from a recognition to start with about the true nature of expectations. And deepening of awareness and a connection with one's true self. But it can be frustrating for people like me to hear that, who have been on this sort of path for years and years, that there is still more work to be done. In not getting attached to expectations. I am at the point where I see a small self of this human being named Joe, who still has a lot of natural tendencies that every human being has, and maybe he will have them until the day that he dies. But of course, there is also the sense of true self, which is just the objective, all-embracing awareness of all of this, of everything going on outside and within Joe. And this is the only pure true self, because it's the only one that's consistent. With all the changing forms of Joe and his environment, the only thing that remains is the true self of pure awareness. And that true self isn't clinging on to any expectations. That remains completely untouched, regardless of what happens. And it still wants the best for Joe, and still wants a thriving and a well-being for him. But it's here for it, I guess you could say, regardless of what happens for him. And yet still, naturally, almost in the blink of an eye, 10 more expectations can arise within a second. Maybe it's not about making a concerted effort to stop expectations. It's just a continuous shifting in the relationship that one has with expectations. An expectation of this thing that I want tomorrow pops up. Okay, I sit here and I objectively see, okay, that expectation has arisen. I'm not going to say expectation go away, because that's as counterproductive as telling yourself not to think of anything. I just say, okay, that expectation has arisen. And I recognize that it's not founded on any sort of universal truth. I realize that expectation doesn't really know what it's talking about, doesn't even really know if what it's expecting is even best for Joe. It thinks that it does. It's the best summary that it can give of what will make Joe happy in the future. But of course it doesn't really know that. And I just sit there with it, and I just recognize it. And okay, expectation can be there, and maybe I can even actively watch Joe as he progresses into the future, and that expectation isn't fulfilled, and he's disappointed again. I can watch all that happen without having to intervene. And that's okay. And then automatically, again, the counterintuitive nature of all shifting in experience, by allowing expectations to arise, being acutely aware of them, and seeing how things unfold with those expectations being in place. Without saying expectations go away, expectations arise less. And to whatever extent they do arise, there's less and less and less attachment to them. There is absolutely no condition for my true self's greatest fulfillment that already exists in every single moment, regardless of what thoughts and emotions are arising for Joe. In some ways, what sounds insane but has been so helpful for maintaining a state of well-being, I am detached from all thoughts and feelings. Not completely. Again, it's a continuous, ongoing process that maybe I'll be doing for the rest of my life. But I've already come extremely far in that regard. I don't view any thoughts or emotions as something that's a part of me or happening to me. They're just something that's just objectively arising, just as is the sun. And there's some lower level preference for thoughts, feelings, circumstances, all the like. And I remain exactly the same. Pure, unbroken, and expectationless.